A long, hidden final letter. Now the FBI has found it. Everyone is astonished by the awful truth behind each character, not only the words on that old paper. This letter disappeared strangely after the incident. Why? Who tried to hide it? Most importantly, what in it motivates the FBI to resume the case immediately? An end to the masked routine. Betsy Arakawa, Gene Hackman's loving wife, was always poised and lovely. No one would have thought she was sad before the tragedy. Security footage and regular conversations show her final days as a story of resilience and love. Betsy was last spotted picking up she adored dog Zena from the vet on February 9, 2025. Security footage shows her leaving with a smile and lovingly touching Zena. She showed no signs of nervousness or concern. Her simple, sophisticated style was shown in her light blue blazer, trousers, and sneakers. On February 11, Betsy resumed her regimen. She routinely bought fresh produce for her family at the farmer's market. A seller said she was always friendly and understood what she wanted. She bought apples, greens, and sunflowers that day. She examines numerous skincare products at the cosmetics counter before checking out, according to security footage. She finished the day at the pet store. Betsy was particular about Zena and her other dogs' diets. She discussed Zena-friendly foods with staff. A store employee said Mrs. Betsy worried about her dog. She wanted the best nourishment. Though Betsy seemed normal, her friends observed minor changes in her conduct. Betsy emailed her massage therapist, who had worked with her for over a decade, on February 11. "I've been tired," Betsy stated in an email. "Perhaps we should postpone this week's appointment. After feeling better, I'll contact you." This was Betsy's first appointment cancellation without explanation. "She always put her health first," says the masseuse. "I was worried about the sudden cancellation, but she might require rest." Betsy's acquaintances noticed her strange silence. A close friend said, "We often texted and called, but I didn't get any responses that week. I believed she was busy or needed solitude." Although brief, Betsy's friends saw something was wrong. At 95, Gene Hackman had late-stage Alzheimer's. Betsy, his life partner and primary caregiver, gave him her everything. No matter how strong the caregiver, caring for a very ill loved one may cause enormous emotional strain, a neighbor said. Betsy never resented her duties. Her optimism and resilience were always evident. However, her friends understood she was under pressure. A family acquaintance said Betsy adored Gene. She would do anything for him, but we worried she wasn't taking care of herself. Betsy disappeared from public view after February 11. Calls and texts from loved ones went unanswered. A neighbor near their home said, "We figured they were on vacation or wanted privacy." Nobody thought anything was wrong. Many doubts remained when Betsy and Gene disappeared suddenly. Before, Betsy's daily routine was normal. She kept shopping, taking care of her pets and herself. Her smile and calm may have masked suffering no one could see. Chapter 2. Silent Home. Days of Ignored Death. On February 11, darkness fell, but Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's calm home appeared to stop time. From that moment on, a silent tragedy unfolded without anyone noticing. Gene Hackman lived in a quiet Santa Fe area without automobile horns or people. It was perfect for his retirement after Hollywood. In the days that followed, it became an enclosed environment where no one outside could see what was happening. Gene Hackman lost track of time and events due to late-stage Alzheimer's. He sometimes forgot loved ones, confused recollections, or lived in mental shards of the past. Did he notice Betsy was gone? Did he realize she abandoned him forever in their home? After Betsy died on February 11, no one knew what transpired in that house. Hackman may have survived several more days in that house without comprehending his wife's permanent absence, which was most horrifying. He presumably still went to the kitchen for breakfast every morning. Nobody prepared his coffee or called his name in a familiar voice. His customary armchair overlooking Betsy's garden yard was his afternoon spot. We had no one to water the plants, no one to inform him daily details. Hackman would enter the bedroom at night and glance at the bed, assuming his wife was someplace in the home, but she had been there for days. Betsy's friends would worry if she didn't call for a few days, but since she was caring for Gene, no one checked. Their home was always peaceful because Betsy wanted her husband's privacy. She rarely spoke to neighbors, avoided the media, and had few close friends. So when she didn't answer texts or calls for days, no one noticed. No one thought Gene Hackman would have been living with a deceased person in the house without knowing it. Alzheimer's destroys memory and makes it impossible to discern reality from memory fragments. After Betsy's death, Gene Hackman may have imagined she was in the house. He may have thought Betsy was in the bedroom and didn't check. Maybe he thought she was shopping, so he wasn't worried. Maybe Betsy was always there in his head, standing beside him like the good old days. No one knew how long Hackman lived like that, but he didn't tell anyone. He didn't phone family or get help. He seemed unaware of this loss. Day after day, the house was lifeless. No one entered or left. No delivery orders were placed. Nobody called. Betsy's reading area was quietly lit by sunlight through the windows. But nobody read those novels anymore. Despite cold evenings, no one lit the fireplace. How Gene Hackman felt that day was unknown. Without knowing it, he lived with that loss. Chapter 3. The Suicide Note A Lost Cry Investigators shattered the silence in Gene Hackman's home. After long, lonely days, they found a riddle and something even more terrible. Betsy Arakawa's possible suicide note. A letter. A message. A forgotten sadness. The FBI was surprised to locate a suicide letter in Gene Hackman in Betsy Arakawa's final days. It was buried among ancient paperwork, possibly forgotten, or never meant to be sent. Each line of the short letter was emotional. It seemed more like months of loneliness, exhaustion, and hopelessness than a goodbye. Betsy Arakawa, Gene Hackman's wife for nearly 40 years, spent her final days caring for him with late-stage Alzheimer's. She watched the once strong Hollywood star lose himself day by day. Betsy was sucked into the vortex. The letter began with a terrible confession. Quite exhausted. Not sure I can do this anymore. Nobody had seen Betsy complain about caring for Gene Hackman, but these lines betrayed a secret. She was tired. Alzheimer's killed Gene Hackman and her life. She lost herself handling everything alone without a partner. She was stuck between returning to the past and losing the man she loved. An unsettling passage was in the letter. Every day I stare into his eyes and wonder if he sees me. Sometimes not. But I see him fading away and can do nothing. The words slash. Decades of love, but suddenly only one half was holding on as the other fell into darkness. Everyone was astonished by the letter's final line. Not wanting to leave him, but not knowing how to stay. Quite strange, but it effectively captured Betsy's sadness. Public opinion flared after the FBI released this letter. Did Betsy Arakawa commit suicide, or was this merely a breakdown? Close friends say Betsy was not suicidal. She shopped, emailed her massage therapist,